Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Central Online. We hope you've had a good week, and we know that for the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you're going to be having a great time because we are looking at parenting this week. Exciting stuff. We are going to be speaking to two parents in the life of the church and seeing how their parenting journey has affected their view and relationship with God and God's love for us. So let's head into that.
Well, I'm Donna. Originally from Lancashire town of Burnley, and lived up here now, 11 years?
Year 1, 22,
Aye, lived up here for about 11 years, and we are foster carers, and I've been for just over 4 years.
I'm Sean. I'm originally from this neck of the woods. We've been in Bilger now for the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
6 years, aye. And involved with the church. We were pastoring the church up here in Cairnbolg until we come together with Fraserburgh, Simple Church, and like Donna said, with Foster.
How did you both come to know each other?
Well, I thought Sean was called Steve, met in Bible college.
That's technically not true. We met before you came to Bible college.
Oh, I met at least
Aye.
birthday party.
I went to Bible college a year before Donna, and there was a guy in my year that I got quite good friends with, and we were going to be stewarding at the AOG conference in Blackpool, which started on a Monday, but it was this guy's little brother's 21st birthday the weekend before, so we went to Burnley for a weekend before going on to Blackpool, and that was the first time we kind of met each other, but it was just a hello, kind of thing.
And I didn't understand a word you said.
And
I thought you was called Steve, and you was quite fat.
I think that's quite ignorant considering your accent, that you couldn't understand.
Nothing wrong with my
me,
accent,
but
anyway.
mind.
So was it love at first sight?
No, not at all. And then even when we got to, because I went to Bible college the year after, and he was so grumpy. He was known as the Grumpy Scotsman.
Grumpy?
You shouted at everybody.
No, I'm not grumpy, I just didn't suffer fools gladly.
But he was the Grumpy Scotsman, and then all of a sudden I think I lost at pool and we ended up going on a date. And then from there...
Is that how I coined you, was it?
Aye.
Okay.
We went on a date after I lost at pool.
How do you mean at that?
I remember stuff like that. And then
right,
from
you know
then
it.
on, we was kind of inseparable, wasn't we?
Yes, dear.
Yeah.
That was good. How long have you been a parent for?
Right, well, we've both got a different answer to this. So for me, my first son, he'll be 23 this year. That was in a previous relationship, but I wasn't really present when he was younger, but I'll maybe mention a bit about that later.
And together we've got a 13-year-old,
Yes.
Alistair, and
Kyla
is...
came along a couple of years later, didn't she?
Aye, so she's about to be 12 in July.
Right, good. So since becoming parents, has your view on God's love changed?
Aye, very much so.
Yes, massively.
I think you kind of see the father's heart in everything since becoming a parent, just because I think before then you're just all out for yourself, and even though you love God, you're still out for yourself. But when it comes to being a parent, all yourself just disappears, and you become a mum, and you want to do everything for your kids.
Aye. It does just give you a whole fresh revelation of just the love of God, because until you become a parent, I mean, I know myself as a man, you see that baby for the first time, you didn't realise it's possible to love somebody so much and just unconditionally. It doesn't matter what they would do. Like, you could murder somebody and you would hide the body for him, take the blame yourself. It doesn't matter, you're still going to love him unconditionally. But I remember after Alistair was born, he was on the floor, lying on the floor, and he was rolling about, and I just become overwhelmed with emotion and thankfulness, because I had an older son who was born whilst I was an addict. He ended up getting taken away from us. My parents raised him, and here I was looking at another son getting a second chance to be a dad and do it right. And I was just so overwhelmed, so thankful, and I prayed and I thanked God at that time, and clearly felt God saying to me, I know how you feel, because in a sense that was how God feels every time somebody comes to salvation in Him through Jesus, comes back into a relationship with Him. So for me, just that moment just totally opened up my eyes the whole way of how God loves us. And when you think of how much you love your own children, and then you read John 3:16, for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son. I mean, I would quite happily and easily lay my own life down for somebody else, but I don't think I could ever love anyone enough to be willing to sacrifice one of my kids. And if anyone tried to do something to harm one of my kids, I think that's another thing you realise as a man. Once you have kids, you realise that you've got it within you to actually kill somebody with your bare hands if they were to do something to your kids. So to be able to love somebody enough that you are willing to sacrifice your own kid for them, that's amazing, and that's the love that God has for us, so that just blows my mind.
Why did you decide to become foster parents?
Well, I'll let Donna answer that, him, because it's something she wanted to do more than me. I got kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, coerced into it to start with, but now I love it. So.
Because you love those babies just as much as I do. For me, I was brought up in the system. I went into a children's home when I was little, and yet I do find that you're one of two people when you come out of the system. You either want to help or you want nothing to do with social work. I have so much love to give that, you know, I felt like we had a place in our house, we had a place in our heart, and fostering was the next best thing. And so then we started our fostering journey from there. It did take a while, but we got there.
Mm-hmm. And it was like, because it was something Donna had always wanted to do. When we moved here, we had, basically just came down to the fact we had a spare room, and so we went for it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you love every foster child the same as your own?
You do love them. You love all the children that come in, because I feel like if you don't, your foster child that's placed with you, they feel that. They feel that if you don't love them enough or if you don't like them. Do I love them as much as my own children? I do. I treat them all the same, but it's a different kind of love. My children are my children. They came from me, and my foster children come to me. It's quite difficult to explain, because I do love them and I would do anything for them, but at the end of the day, they are just placed with us for just a short time. Whether that short time is just months or whether it's years, you know, they're only placed with us for just a short time. And I do believe that God gave me my children to love unconditionally throughout their whole life, and He's given me children to bless and to love until they've to go somewhere else, whether that be back to their birth family, whether that be to a new family. But I love every single one of them that comes through our doors, because not because you have to, but because I choose to, and I just love them all.
And I've been really surprised by it, because, like I said earlier, with just when your own child's born, it's like you're not aware that you're able to love somebody that much. But then with every child that's come to us fostering, be it a baby or slightly older, they come, and because, I don't know if it's because they're reliant on you, but you just, that love is there as well. I think and I want to say the babies in particular, but it's true, because as soon as you see them, you're like, it's a baby and all of it. But it sounds bad. It sounds like I love the Allerings. But I think, like most people, I've got a soft spot for a baby, and there's nothing better than baby bozies. Nothing beats it, the smell of a baby. But it's just, I think it's changed a bit about the way you understand the love of God as well, and that, like, we're adopted into God's family, and Like I didn't think I would love these kids that we have for this short time as much as I would, but they come in and although they've got a different name and that, we decided right at the very beginning of our fostering journey that as long as that child was in our care, they were just going to be treated like one of the Pessicks. They were going to be treated like they were one of our own. They wouldn't be treated any less or any better, but would just love them and they would be part of our family. And even like our kids as well, they'll refer to themselves as brothers and sisters of these kids that we have for these short times as well.
As parents, how are you going to show God's love to your children?
I think that we just have to be ourselves. We have to have them in church. We have to allow them to make their own mistakes. I've made mistakes and I come back to God. I would love it if my children in 30 years' time were, they'd never strayed from God. They've always loved God. As a parent, that is the best, it's the best thing ever. But I think we have to lead by example. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, there's just no point, because you can't tell them to do something and then you not do it yourself. I definitely think it's important for them to be plugged in to whatever age group they're into. So Kyra at the minute is doing Sunday school, and she's in Fuse, because that's the older one, isn't it? So she goes to kids club, but she's in Fuse and she just loves it. She loves going to kids camp. And then Alistair is with the youth, so that's over to Sam, because I can't deal with teenagers. To keep them plugged in and keep them, going to church.
I think leading by example is the big thing. You need to exhibit the godly character as well. And you might think, oh, does you have much of that for you, Sean? You're nuts. But I know letting your kids see you pray, letting them see you worship, loving the Bible. I'd love to be able to say, oh, we sit down in my family Bible studies and stuff like that, but it doesn't happen.
It's not very often. We started, don't we?
We've started a few times, but then it ends up like faltering out. But I think just letting them seeing you loving God is the best example. And like Donna says, if 30 years down the line they're still loving the Lord and connected and rooted into church, that would be amazing. And it's the same like with the foster kids. We're not allowed to put our faith onto them, but church is a massive part of our life. It's not just what we do, it's who we are. And so they get exposed to the things of God through church and just through how we are at home with praying and reading the Bible and stuff like that. So I think that's the key. Being authentic and just being you and living out a life loving God is the best example that you can give to your children, rather than trying to kind of force them into doing things for themselves. Just let them see how amazing it can be living a life with God at the heart of it.
What are your hopes for the future?
My hope would be, I don't know. It sounds really weird. I don't actually have very many hopes for the future. Not in terms of me, but for my children, of course. I want them to be in school. I want them to go to university. I want them to have all the things that I didn't have growing up. And I want them to still be rooted into church. I want them to have friends that they're comfortable with. I want them to be comfortable. But I don't think I've got many hopes that for me in general. What about you?
Are we just speaking in regards to parenting here? Or I know, because I think my hopes would probably be the same, just that the kids are successful in life, that they do well in school, they go on, and that they continue to walk with God. That was probably because my eldest son, he's nowhere with the Lord, so I would love for him to come into a relationship with the Lord. Some of his friends have done. It would be great if he followed their example, but just that the kids would grow up to be good people, that they love the Lord and that they want to make a difference and make their world better as well. That'd probably be my only hope, and that I can be a good dad, because being a dad's the best job in the world, so I would like to do it well.
Who are you, where are you from, and what do you do?
Okay, I'm Rachel Williamson. I'm originally from St Combs, but abide in the Broch. I'm a primary school teacher, and you've probably seen me leading worship in church or serving on kids' church.
Hi, and I'm Josh. I'm for the Broch as well. Probably seen me hiding in my little drum hoosey on a Sunday, playing drums in the worship team. I work as a mechanical engineer and work in the offshore oil and gas industry.
How did you meet?
Well, we met at Fraserburgh Academy. I think we were in second year and we ended up both in the same maths class, and Rachel used to do my maths homework for me, and that was the start of that was the start.
The romance blossomed through there.
Going via maths.
Aye, so it was in maths class, and then we started going out, didn't we? And then it's that coming up to
12 years.
12 years now. Aye, we got married in 2017.
Right.
And we've obviously had Olivia November 21, so aye, it's been good.
That's the history.
Aye.
Well, she was born in November, just last year, so it's coming up to, well, is it 11 weeks this week?
Yeah, 11 weeks on Wednesday she was.
11 weeks on Wednesday, which is absolutely flown in, it's crazy.
Almost 3 months now, which is just wild. Just time's passed, but it's been amazing, isn't it? It's been really good. I think we've experienced the whole range of emotions in this past 3 months, but it's been brilliant. Learning curve, isn't it?
It's been.
So, how did you come to know Jesus? Like, what's your story of being a Christian?
Well, I suppose mine was like fairly like a really early age, like I think I was maybe like 6 or 7, I think, and I just remember coming in for like a 6 o'clock gospel service, and I just like knowing that I had to kind of make that decision, and it was so long ago, but I think it was my mum. I think she led me in the prayer, and that was so it's a while ago.
I was quite similar, so I gave my life to the Lord when I was early primary school. I can't remember the exact date or age, but I remember, similar to you, coming home and praying with my mum, caning that Jesus died for my sins, and I wanted to give my life to the Lord. But it wasn't really until first year of academy relief, and I started coming along to youth, that I really developed that personal relationship with God and knew Him for myself.
Since becoming parents, has your view on God's love changed?
I suppose I like I suppose you always kind of knew like how much God loved you, but I suppose it's not really until like within Olivia, and it's kind of been like you really do like understand. It's like a new understanding and like how much that really is. It's just like to think that like we love her like more than anything ever, but yeah, like God loves us even more than that.
Yeah.
So it's like still a bit mental to think that, but
I would be the same. It hasn't really changed, but I would say I've got a deeper understanding of God's love for me. I always knew that we love because He first loved us, and that His love is unconditional. But as Josh was saying, once we had Olivia, just that overwhelming sense of love, to ken that God loves us even more than that was just amazing. And I always think, I'm always going to love Olivia. There's nothing that she could ever do that would make me stop loving her. No matter the decisions she makes, what she looks like, what she decides to do for a job, the mistakes that she makes, the sins she commits, I'm going to love her. She doesn't have to perform. I just love her because she's my child, and it just really hit home to me. That's how God sees us. We're children of God, and He loves us because God is love, really.
Have you learned anything fresh about God the Father since becoming parents?
So I suppose it kind of ties into that last answer. I suppose is that it's just like a totally like new dynamic to like you just kind of comprehend how sacrifice that was made, like for us, kind of never think of having to do that, like with Olivia. So I suppose that's kind of something definitely. Yeah, I suppose it's kind of similar to the previous question, but that's definitely something I've kind of learnt new.
Me as well, just similar to being a child of God, and it's just really reminded me afresh what it means to be a child of God. And it says in 1 John 3 verse 1, "Behold what manner of love the Father has bestowed upon us, that we would be called children of God." As I said, he loves me more than I love Olivia. And as Josh said, he demonstrated that love through sending his son, Jesus, to die on the cross for our sins. And it just really deepens my understanding of his grace, his kindness, and his patience with me. And just the fact that I've got that confidence and security in him, because he cares so much for us. Olivia's always hopefully going to feel safe and secure with us, and that's how we should feel with God the Father.
What are your hopes for the future?
So well, I suppose as a family and for Olivia, I just can really hope that as she grows up, she gets really like plugged into church, and she wants to go, and she enjoys it, and also she lives a happy and healthy life as well. And I suppose like a challenge for us as well is that verse in Proverbs 22:6 is, "Start children off in the way they should go, and even when they're old, they will not turn from it." And I suppose that's like a challenge for us to kind of start her off kind of in the right way. And I can also really hope that as she gets older, that any problems or struggles she's got, that she feels that she can come to us, and we'll always be there for her no matter fit. So that's me.
Yeah, I would just say the same, that she'd have a personal relationship with God, and just realise how much he loves her, and that she'll grow to be happy and healthy. And just for us, that we set a good example for Olivia as she grows up. And just that verse in Joshua 24:15, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." So we just really hope and pray we'll be able to set a good example and just serve the Lord together as she grows.
I've carried a burden for too long on my own. I wasn't created to bear it alone. I hear your invitation to let it all go. Yeah, I see it now. I'm laying it down, and I know that I need you. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I'll run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, oh, oh. You saw my condition, had a plan from the start. Your Son for redemption, the price for my heart. And I don't have a context for that kind of love. I don't understand, I can't comprehend. All I know is I need you. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I'll run to the Father again. long before my first breath, running into your arms is running to life from death. And I feel this rush deep in my chest. Your mercy is calling out. Just as I am, you pull me in, and I know I need you now. My heart has been in your sight long before my first breath, running into your arms is running to life from death. And I feel this rush deep in my chest. Your mercy is calling out. Just as I am, you pull me in, and I know I need you now. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I run to the Father again and again. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart found a surgeon, my soul found a friend. So I run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, oh, again and again and again and again. Oh, again and again and again and again.
If you are a parent in the life of the church, then we have Glow starting again next week after the holiday breaks, and we also have youth happening every Friday and select Sundays and Wednesdays. And if you want to get involved in the life of the church, we have Alpha and life groups happening on Thursday nights here in church. Check our Instagram and social media for more details on these events coming up. We'll see you next week.